Welcome to this edition of JBS Jersey Baseball Show's Generation Next. We look at a lot of the top 2022s around, and we are not really doing Jersey on this one. We are doing 2022 at least, but special guest here today, Beck Milner, Taft School up in Connecticut, headed to Yale University. Connection with Beck through our good friend Chase Topolsky, their travel team together. Chase going to Richmond, obviously, just signed earlier last week, and you as well, Beck. Tell us about your signing day experience. As we can sort of see in the background there, you're headed off to Yale.
Yeah, signing day was a fantastic time for the entire student athlete population at Taft. We had 16 student athletes sign this fall, 2 women's lacrosse players, 2 great soccer players, I think 10 lacrosse players, 3 baseball players, and a rower. And you name it, Big Ten or Ivy League, we're there coming from Taft. And we're not even counting football yet, which has a pretty strong roster, if you ask me.
Yeah, I forgot to mention you're going to the Taft School, boarding school up in Connecticut, and certainly a lot of outstanding, not just athletes but student athletes. Obviously, as
Absolutely.
you said, a lot of Big Ten and a lot of Ivy League, and gotta get both sides of that student athlete equation, obviously, to be able to do that. But what made Yale so attractive to you specifically, and tell us about your excitement on being able to play Ivy League baseball.
Absolutely. Yale was always a dream for me as a student athlete. Great place, both academically and athletically. People there, they just bring a unique personality, each and every one of them, that builds a great community, very similar to Taft here at my high school. And I wanted that for myself to be able to grow as a person and as an athlete. As a top contender in the Ivy League in the past 10 years, Yale has been dominant throughout. So to join that family as a Bulldog is a dream come true. And to be able to go on and win an Ivy League championship in the next few years and go on to the tournament would be a dream come true.
This is good. We've got Princeton covered here. We got some of our guys are going to Penn next year. We got Columbia, one of our pitchers from last summer, a couple of guys coming back to play. So we like to add Yale to that too. So that's great. But now you're from New York City, but you didn't take the most direct route from New York City to get up to Connecticut, right? So why don't you tell us about the path you took to get from New York to Connecticut, and what kind of happened in between?
Absolutely. So when I was 10 years old, we decided to move to Park City, Utah. I have 2 younger sisters, both big skiers, dancers, lacrosse players. And we kind of decided that it was time for our family we'd grown up in the city. We wanted some place where we could ride bikes to school and have a very similar fundamental year experience to what our parents had versus the very busy city.
Yeah.
When we got to Park City, my development as an athlete is due 100% to Skull Candy Crusher baseball. What that program did was it took a great coaching staff they put together by a guy named Brent, and what he brought in was some of the best mentors in my life. Bill Madlock, David DeLucci. These guys came and coached us in big tournaments when we were just 10, 11, 12 years old.
These are all major leaguers.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's crazy. You're 10, 11 years old, you're getting coached by former, major league stars. You get the World Series rings,
Yep.
It's crazy.
And, these guys built me into the athlete that I was today. However, in Utah, we didn't have the best competitive baseball. I'm not going to disown Utah. There are some great athletes there. However, when it comes to high school baseball in Utah, in a rural state, and especially in Park City, baseball is about our 13th or 14th best sport in town. Right after we have all the Olympic hopefuls. We have a great men's and women's lacrosse team that have won state years in a row. However, when it comes to baseball, I decided that I needed something a little bit more competitive for me. And I found my way to the Army and Navy Academy in Carlsbad, California, where I spent my 8th grade through the end of my sophomore year. It was a military-based academy. I learned a lot about time management, things like that grew me into the person that I am today. However, when I got to Carlsbad, I was introduced to Butch Smith, who runs the No Fear facility down there in San Marcos, California. And ultimately, Butch became my father away from home, took me under his wing. I remember him calling me 6:30 in the morning on Sunday after a long week of school and telling me, "Hey, where are you? It's cage time. Get in here." And I'd get up and I'd get in my Uber at 13 years old and I'd get to San Marcos, California to go hit with Butch, and he became my dad. Ultimately, that sponsorship from Skull Candy Baseball got passed along to Butch as the Utah branch broke off. Skull Candy Crusher Baseball peaked with 4 teams across the country, maybe 5. We had a Dallas team, a SoCal team, a Detroit team, and a team in Springfield, Illinois. And then as I was getting into my junior year, I decided that I wanted to pursue the Ivy League route much more heavier than any other schools on the West Coast. That led me to Taft. In 2018, Taft had an undefeated season. They won the Founders League. And as I was going through getting ready to apply because of COVID, they had no 2019 season. So when I'm applying, I see an 18-0 record on this great school called Taft that I have no idea what Taft is, where it is, or anything like that. So I go on the website, I do my due diligence. I see the dorms, I see the pictures, I see the faculty. So I write a few emails and I apply, and ultimately was able to visit Taft right before COVID started in the spring of 2020, maybe 2019, 2019, 2020. I was able to visit 1 month before everything got shut down over spring break. And Mike Mastrocola and Coach Prince, both amazing coaches at the Taft School, welcomed me with open arms into the school, gave me an entire tour. I had my father with me, which is a great experience. And I felt very, very welcomed by the community here at Taft, and decided to make that my second half of my high school journey. Completed my junior year last year, was ultimately able to receive an offer after the very, very long dead period the NCAA gave to us, and was able to get that offer right before the spring season started. And it was a no-doubter for me. Yale was the best option for me academically and athletically. And coincidentally, it happened to be very close to Taft, only about 30 minutes down to New Haven. Wrapped up our short season last year because of COVID, but this year we are coming out strong, ready for a full season against the Founders League, looking for that championship, which would technically be back to back if we can put it together this year. With 2 years of no season or half season.
The longest back to back, the most time in between.
No kidding.
That's great. It sounds. I mean, that's fantastic. What's your biggest goal to between now and the spring? Then, obviously you want to win the title certainly, and finish your high school career with a bang. But where do you want to put your focus to make sure you're most ready to play in college?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, strong weight room stuff is starting to get cold up here in the Northeast. We all know that. We all hate it, but getting bigger, faster, stronger every single day when we're in the weight room as a team. We're doing sprints outside if it's just warm enough, or inside on the treadmills if we can. We're lucky enough to have a large athletic facility here on campus that we have an indoor track that we can do our speed work on. Tons of box jumps, things like that. Flexibility is a key thing. I had more than half of my varsity baseball roster taking yoga in the fall this fall. And as a team, we got more flexible, more nimble, which is something that's very looked over in baseball, but especially for me behind the plate. That flexibility gives me an edge when I need to block or get up and throw. That's something that I overlooked in my game for a long time, and now that I'm realizing want to take that next step to the next level, I need that flexibility. And then on the other hand, we're lucky enough to have a hit tracks here at Taft. So a few of the guys have been competing in Friday Night Lights tournaments, which is a great way that hit tracks puts on just to compete as a fun thing to do on a Friday night as a team. Teams of 2 to 4, fantastic time, and they compete across the nation against anybody who wants to enter it on hit tracks. So they've been having a blast doing that this winter. But we're all getting as big, as fast, as strong as possible going into this season, and then we're excited to go down to Florida over spring break and have our spring training season down there for about a week before we head up for the league. So we're super excited.
Chase said you're insane in the weight room. So that's I mean, obviously is an important thing here. But you mentioned you're a catcher, obviously. That's the kind of position you really got to be all in and mentally locked in on every play. What is it that has you loving behind the plate, versus another? I mean, what makes you love catching?
Yeah. So there are two things that make me love catching. First, it keeps me in the game every single play, and I get to see the entire field. So as a catcher, I learned so much about pitchers specifically, and every fielder in the field. I see that behind the plate. So keeping me active in the head, keeping me in every single play, that's just exciting for me as a player. On the other hand, the mental awareness that it takes to be a catcher is what I love most about it. I am always trying to think differently than the hitter, keeping my pitcher in a sequence that keeps the hitter off balance and off time no matter what. So I'm playing a mental game, my pitcher and I, against the hitter, no matter the situation. We could have some of the best hitters in the Northeast and a guy throwing 86 miles an hour with a 72-mile-an-hour curveball from the left side and a changeup. And my job as a catcher is to keep him off balance and let him not barrel up that 86 miles an hour. Anybody can hit 86 miles an hour from 60 feet away, hard and far. But if they're guessing wrong, and the majority of guys that don't have that mental awareness to think like a catcher, they're going to guess wrong the majority of the time. And that's what I love about it the most is that's my job. And I'm playing a psychological game with the hitter every single at bat.
Absolutely. That's what you're going to you look at your background, your weight room experience, right? You mentioned earlier you'd love to play football, but that's not mom says no, right?
Yeah.
So you were telling me, what's your second sport then if it's not football?
I am an alpine skier.
I say much safer than playing football, right? But
mom's eyes, yes.
Yeah, you got a skiing family though. I mean, right? It's probably more there's not really much of a thought about it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. We grew up going to the Poconos when I was a young kid, skied for Jack Frost ski team, and then headed out to Park City and joined the Park City ski team. And I love it. It's an adrenaline rush that I can't find anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I love it. Adrenaline junkie is how I would describe myself in most situations. And in the winter here, it can get very, very tough. It's cold. We're inside all the time, and just getting out on that hill and skiing just makes me feel great every day.
Gets you fired up. That's right.
Absolutely.
Gets you fired up. Couple random questions for you before we cut you loose here. One thing on your bucket list is?
Ooh, I'd love to take a large road trip across the United States and Canada.
Love it. Yep. Maybe like after graduation or one of those trips.
I'm hoping after summer league ball this year is my goal.
Okay. Pre-game routine. One thing that's got to be in your pre-game routine no matter what.
Pre-workouts. Absolutely. It's a terrible problem that I have, but if you ask Chase, he'll tell you I'm in the dugout dry scooping pre-workout into my mouth before every single game. It has to be a catcher. It has to be a catcher's thing, but I cannot play without it.
There's a chance he might have mentioned that. It's known. It's known. Let's put it that way. Favorite pro sport team, regardless of sport.
It is the St. Louis Cardinals. Grew up in New York City, and on my 6th birthday, my grandfather and my father were there. Not only did they tell me I could not have a Yankees themed birthday party, but they made me cry. Told me that I was born into a Cardinals fan team and a family from generation to generation. And after that, I've been a Cardinals fan ever since.
It's been all right, though, I guess.
Done fine.
Or you refuse to know any different. It's got to be all right.
There was a point in time that they had the most World Series appearances and wins in my lifetime, and as I get older, that dwindles very, very quickly.
Yeah. One place you'd love to visit that you've never been?
Bali.
Well,
I'd love to
yeah,
go to Bali.
for sure. And one phone app you couldn't live without.
TikTok, unfortunately. Terrible time consumer, but
Yeah.
they know what I like to laugh at, that's for sure.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate the time, Beck. Congratulations again. Fantastic news for you. Obviously, signed the letter to be playing at Yale. We look forward to catching you in the Ivy League as we move forward. And best of luck, and thanks for taking a few minutes today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time.
Definitely. Beck Milner, Taft School, and Yale University starting in 2022. And we look forward to catching him playing, tearing up the Ivy League.